Tonight on Sports Night in Auburn, we'll take a look at Haunted Hare. Auburn stormed the field frenzy against Texas A&M on senior night that gave every Auburn student in the stadium the time of their lives. From upset wins to rivalry week, the Tigers took their business down to where the tide gets rolled instead of trees. Tuscaloosa to take on number 13 Alabama in the 89th rendition of the Iron Bowl. From T-Town to Beach-Town, Auburn basketball's trip to the Maui Invitational made for an awfully great Thanksgiving while making plenty of history in the process. We'll see how Player of the Year candidate Janai Broome held down fort in the islands. Lastly, after dark in Durham, Auburn basketball traveled to Cameron Indoor Stadium to battle Cooper Flagg and Duke in a barn burner. It was a good one, but you're in for a great one here on the semester finale of Sports Night in Auburn. Let's go. Auburn, Alabama, the best atmosphere in all of college sports.
He drives, it's lit.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Gone deep to the left.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sideline going to the
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
And welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
One holiday week, 6 big games, and plenty of action for Auburn football and basketball over the last 168 hours. Welcome to the semester finale of Sports Night in Auburn. I'm your host, Vince Wolfram. Of the two big Auburn sports in full swing, let's begin with the team nearing the end of its regular season, Auburn football. Before Thanksgiving break, Hugh Freeze and company were expected to lose out. Mike Elko and number 15 Texas A&M came into Jordan-Hare on senior night and looked to spoil their evening. And I'll tell you what, literally, I'm about to tell you. Roll the tapes.
Number 15 Texas A&M paying a visit to the Plains on senior night. Jarquez Hunter, Peyton Thorne, Eugene Asante, all seniors that had big impacts on this game. Hunter, he got the party started on the opening drive with this 1-yard score, and there wasn't much time to ravel about it because before long, there were more points on the board. This time brought to you by Thorne Coleman Incorporated. A 63-yard touchdown pass to put the Tigers up 14 points. And that is when the defense stepped up. Marcel Reed looks, fires, and gets picked off by Jaron Thompson. That, my friends, was a wake-up call for the Aggies because they wasted no time getting back into the game following that INT. Here, Reed finds Noah Thomas, who rifles through Auburn's miscue and trots on in for a 73-yard score off the slant route. Peyton Thorne, though, was not about to let his team down on senior night. He found his senior twin, Keandre Lambert-Smith, put the Tigers in position to get their star running back in the end zone once again. After 3 quarters, Auburn led 28-21. A&M controlled the majority of the fourth, surmounted a 31-28 lead with just minutes to play, but with Peyton Thorne's legs and the legs of redshirt freshman kicker Ian Vaughn, Auburn would tie this game with just 5 seconds left in regulation to force overtime. Aggies, they got the ball first and cashed in. Reed connects with Ja'Day Walker, 12 yards on the grown man score. Auburn needed to match, and they did. Who else? Jarquez Hunter. 38's on the board. Second overtime trading field goals made it 41-all, and the third overtime was scoreless because of failed scoring opportunities. Auburn's ball to start the fourth overtime, playing with 2-point conversions at this point. Thorne finds KLS. Touchdown Auburn. That score gave A&M one more chance to match. Here's the play. Reed gets the flicker back, looks at his wide receiver, and it's dropped. Ball game. Students rushing the field like it's 2013 again. Final from Auburn. Tigers 43, Aggies 41. Take a listen to who Coach Freeze had to credit with this win.
Well, thank you, Lord. It's just, he's good in wins and losses, but it sure feels better when you win. And
what a way for this Auburn team to go out in Jordan-Hare this season. A big win for Coach Freeze. Next for the Tigers, they play in the Iron Bowl next Saturday against Alabama. From a very crowded Pat Dye Field, I'm Vince Wolfram, Eagle Eye TV.
What it was an honor for these students to rush the field after that game. It was crazy. But the players, they got their honors too. And it started with the man under center, Peyton Thorne. He was named to the Davy O'Brien Great 8 Honors list. And this is the back-to-back weeks he had done this. And a great performance against Texas A&M was the reason why. 19 for 31 passing, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, posted a 76 QBR, averaged 10 yards a pass. Just right there, Peyton Thorne making a name for himself, getting on to the list for the second week in a row. One of the best quarterbacks in the nation. But to be the best quarterback in the nation, you got to be able to throw to the best as well. Cam Coleman, National Freshman of the Week. Back-to-back 100-yard games. Thorne's been finding him. 7 receptions, 128 yards, and 2 scores against Texas A&M. He caught a big 63-yard bomb and scored it awfully easy from there and got recognized for his grand play. Now, we talked about Cam. Another guy we haven't talked about, though, is this guy, Jarquez Hunter. SEC Team of the Week nominee, Jarquez, the best senior on this Auburn team. He was dominant. He's the heart and soul of this football team. 28 carries, 130 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jarquez is an absolute workhorse. So shout out to those 3 gentlemen making the honors for last week. After the A&M craziness, it only got crazier. Rivalry week was in full effect. I was in Tuscaloosa on Saturday for the best rivalry in all of college football.
The 2024 regular season capped off tonight with the 89th edition of the Iron Bowl. Number 13 Alabama coming in off a surprising loss in Norman to Oklahoma 24-3, and an Auburn team who has all the momentum off a big spirited win against Texas A&M at home. Now Auburn, they're trying to keep that underdog streak alive, and in this building, when Alabama is not coached by Nick Saban, the Tigers are undefeated. The game started exactly how Auburn faithful would have hoped, with a turnover. Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe found freshman Ryan Williams, who coughed up the ball, and it ended up in the midst of Eugene Asante, a big one for Auburn, and in return, they tried to take advantage with an Ian Vacan field goal, but it missed. They let him hear it. First touchdown of the game came from the Tide. Milroe escaped for a 19-yard touchdown scramble and a crane kick for old time's sake. First quarter, Alabama led 7-0. Second quarter, though, it was a turnover-filled one for the Tide. Here, Milroe throws a souvenir to Caleb Wooden, and later a sack fumble that was recovered by Auburn's Jalen McLeod. Alabama began half number 2 with 2 big touchdown drives. Again, this score boost was generated by the legs of Jalen Milroe. Another scurry to the end zone. He was taking over this ball game, but for the first time all game, Auburn had an answer. On the last possession of a 10-play, 87-yard drive, Peyton Thorne found freshman Cam Coleman on this catch. You got mossed. After the Tigers scored on the 2-point conversion to follow, scoreboard read 28-14, Alabama leading. Auburn went into its bag of tricks to try to get back in the game, and it didn't work out all that well for him. Thorne with the lateral to Jarquez Hunter, throws it up to a contested Keandre Lambert-Smith, and the ball gets picked off. That just about did it. 28-14, final from Tuscaloosa. With the loss today, Auburn's season is over. Hugh Freeze's team finished 2-6 in SEC play and 5-7 on the season. From Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, I'm Vince Wolfram, Eagle Eye TV.
You know, as media, we're sad to see the season conclude like it did, and we know Auburn students are in a very similar boat. Eagle Eye TV's Keegan Miller caught up with some current students about how they felt about the 2024 Orange and Blue campaign coming to an end.
With the 2024 Auburn football season being over, after the Tigers went 5-7, what does the student body think about the season that just happened and the season yet to come with a big recruiting class for 2025? Let's find out together. So now that the 2024 season is over, how do we feel about the season and going into the 2025 Auburn football season?
Well, I don't feel great about this season, but I think with like our incoming recruits and stuff, we have a good shot at doing well next season.
Definitely more excited. I got a lot of hope coming into it. The recruiting class looks really good. Got a lot of studs coming in.
I think that there's a lot of room for improvement. I think this was, at least in my personal knowledge, this was not the best year at all for Auburn football.
And a lot of people have talked about the quarterback situation. What are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. It's definitely an interesting room.
So as a lot of people just know, I think Deuce Knight actually just signed. So feeling confident about that. I know the quarterback situation, I think everybody was a little bit upset. But I'm hoping that with a new quarterback, 5-star, I'm hoping we can turn some things around. So I think we're getting a lot of new recruits coming in. So I'm very hopeful. I'm hoping we can at least go above 500 next year.
And I think this is Hugh's last make or break season. One more bad season, I think he might go.
I think Hugh Freeze has got a good crew coming in, especially with Deuce Knight. Obviously, we were kind of in need of a quarterback in the first anyway. But yeah, I think this year was a good building season. Obviously, with a new coach, it takes time to build up.
I think Hugh Freeze is definitely in the right position right now. I mean, he's getting a lot of new recruits in. I mean, he definitely did not do his job this year, but I don't think we need to quit on him quite yet.
There's only one thing left to do now, and that's wait and watch the 2025 Auburn football season. With Eagle Eye TV, I'm Keegan Miller.
Thank you, Keegan. Auburn students showed up for this team all season long, and no one appreciated that support more than the seniors on the roster. This was an elderly class for football. 30 total seniors. Some notable seniors who played their last games in Jordan-Hare Stadium against Texas A&M: Peyton Thorne, Eugene Asante, Oscar Chapman, Luke Deal, Rivaldo Fairweather, Jarquez Hunter, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Austin Keys, Jalen McLeod, Keontae Scott, Jaron Thompson, and Zacchaeus Walker. Out with the old and in with the new, though. Micah Farmer joins me in the stew, and he has some transfer portal updates from the Plains.
Man, I thought you were going to say transfer portal updates for you, Vince. Come on, get the rhymes together. But
I got them.
It is ready. Transfer portal season now on the Plains. Auburn's had a few guys leave already. Quarterback Holden Garner, a couple tight ends, Micah Riley and Grant Hidalgo, receiver Camden Brown, offensive lineman E.J. Harris, defensive lineman Gage Keys, and punter Gabe Russo are all in the portal already.
Tell me about what players you think that have left that decided it was in their best interest to explore the portal. How will those guys affect the Auburn Tigers in 2025?
Well, I thought Camden Brown had some interesting upside from the receiver spot, but you're so young and talented at receiver, I kind of get why he transferred. Same thing for Holden Garner. You have Hank Brown, Walker White, and now Deuce Knight behind him. So a lot of guys, I think, forced him to transfer as well. As far as the others, I think that's a lot of good depth that you're losing, but maybe not any super key contributors. So I think Auburn will be able to recover just fine.
You dropped some names there. Who are some guys that jump off the page to you as stars coming in this transfer portal class?
Well, you look at some of the available transfers right now, and my favorite is actually a guy who it's not certain he's in the portal yet, but it's about 99.9%, and that is Washington State quarterback John Mateer. And it was fear Mateer this past season up in Pullman. He was lighting it up on offense. I think he'd be a great fit for Auburn. Good decision-making. I like his upside at quarterback. And then the next guy is someone that Auburn fans should remember. It's ULM running back Ahmad Hardy, who was in Jordan-Hare Stadium just about a month ago. He was top 5 in the nation in rushing yards, one of the better running backs in the country. And as a Group of 5 transfer, I think Auburn could look to add him as well.
Yeah, doing damage on the transfer portal side, but they also are doing it recruiting from high school as well. Early National Signing Day was this week, and Auburn managed to sign 25 recruits. Deuce Knight, quarterback from Mississippi, being the headliner. Alvin Henderson, one of the best running backs in the history of Alabama high school football. J.J. Falk, now, Micah, he's the younger brother of Auburn defensive lineman Keldrick Falk, who had a great year. Add in guys like Malik Autry and Jared Smith, 2 guys who are 5 stars on the ratings from 24/7 Sports. A very star-studded group there. Micah, thank you. Hugh Freeze's group, they're ranked 6th so far in this recruiting cycle. And when Hugh talked to the media about the work done to get these players in Auburn uniforms, he believes you need 2 or 3 top 10 classes to redirect a program. He's on pace to do just that.
I'm really excited. Good day for us. I've been very clear since my arrival that I thought it would take 3 top 10 classes to overhaul our roster to get it to where it's apples to apples with the elite in the country. And man, today's one of those days where the first emotion you probably feel is relief, and excitement is the next one. And there's so many people that played such a critical role in us. Looks like we'll finish with another top 10 class, which is and one of the tops in the SEC. which the differences when you really compare those are, they're so, in my opinion, the differences in those top classes are so small that it becomes now it's your job to develop and create a culture with those, because it's not enough difference where you can say you don't have enough talent. And so we've completed our second recruiting class here, and again, excited that we're going to have another one of the top classes in the country. And again, so many people to thank that really go unnoticed. Our recruiting staff and our personnel staff that does the evaluations, and obviously our coaches that go on the road and are the boots on the ground, and our administration. And one of the things that I think was most critical was the excitement of our fans, even going through a difficult season. Them continuing to support our team and show these recruits and their families that Auburn love and Auburn family is real. It's not fake. It's not pretend. And for them to continue to stick with us. And I know you lose some battles and you win some. That happens every year. But for us our vision here is very clear. And I think today is a sign that people see it. Good players see it. Their families see it. And it's a validation in a way that we're on the right track, even though we had a disappointing season. And so we're just thrilled to kind of finish this off and let's get these guys here and continue to change our roster.
It's great stuff there from Hugh Freeze. Now, I had a guy come for my rhymes earlier, but don't worry. He's clean, his money green, and he actually introduced everyone to the recruiting scene. Micah Farmer joins me now. He's got the crash course of what Auburn has made of this recruiting cycle so far.
There we go. Rhymes are back.
Boom!
Thanks,
Let's
Vince.
go.
Nice one. The recruiting cycle has been a bit different for Auburn this year. You look at last year, even though it was a very highly rated top 10 class, a lot of emphasis on the D-line and receivers. This year it's been a bit different. You look at Alvin Henderson in the running back spot, but there's been a ton of emphasis in the secondary. And as a guy who's a sucker for a good DB, that's something I've really enjoyed. But let's start at the quarterback position. Deuce Knight, one of the top recruits in this class, 52 nationally, number 6 quarterback, number 2 in Mississippi. This guy is an incredible player. Drug him out of Mississippi away from Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Great win on the recruiting trail. Then let's talk about these DBs. First off, at corner, Donovan Starr. This guy is tall. He has great length on the outside. Number 16 corner in the nation. Number 1 player in Tennessee and was a previous Tennessee commit. So to pull him out of there, another big win for Auburn on the recruiting trail. Then finally, Anquan Fagans, a safety right here from Alabama. Number 6 safety, number 4 player in Alabama. Another great player on the back end. Can make plays over the top, can come down and hit in the box. Love him as well. Love what Auburn's done in the secondary this year on the recruiting trail.
Donovan Starr, Patrick Starr, I've got Auburn recruiting in 2025. That's what I got. Micah, appreciate you as always, giving us the best recruiting updates on the Plains. But before we head to break here, we're going to leave you with some Auburn recruiting trivia. When was the last time Auburn had a top 10 recruiting class besides this year, 2025? A, 2020, B, 2019, C, 2023, or D, 2024? We may or may not have the answer when we return, but Mike is still here, so we probably will. Welcome back to the semester finale of Sports Night in Auburn. We've got the answer to the trivia question we left you with before the break. When was the last time Auburn had a top 10 recruiting class besides 2025? Not counting last year, we've got letter D. Actually counting last year, because it was last year. 2024 was the recruiting class by Hugh Freeze was the 8th ranked recruiting class in the nation, followed by this year's class, 2025, which is ranked 6th in the country. It marks the first time in nearly a decade that Auburn's class ranks in the top 10 for the second straight season. Now, football recruiting, we're going to basketball now. Auburn basketball was recruited to the best Thanksgiving you could ask for. A trip to play at some of the best programs in all of college basketball in the Maui Invitational, paradise on earth. Now, the hardest round to win is the first one. And Auburn, who is ranked 4th in the nation, was matched up with the number 5 Iowa State Cyclones, and this was a battle, arguably the best game in the tournament's entirety. In the first half, Auburn was in a hole, down 18 points, and the momentum was absolutely not in their favor. Chad Baker-Mazara helped turn that around, though. 18 points on the game with 16 clutch ones in the second half. He was the spark plug that the Tigers needed. Auburn, they climbed all the way back in the game, took the lead in dramatic fashion, and with seconds to play off a Denver Jones missed layup, Joleigh Broome tipped the rock into the basket for the win. Ball game. Tigers 83, Cyclones 81. On to round 2 for the Tigers. But first, check out this stat. Auburn has multiple AP top 5 wins in the regular season for the first time in program history. That's big. That's Earl built this toughest non-conference schedule in the history of the program, and they're making the most of it now. Now, what better way to prove yourself than against some of the best programs in the country and one of the most historic programs in the North Carolina Tar Heels, who came back from the second largest comeback in program history to beat Dayton just before they faced Auburn. They're set to face Joleigh Broome and the gang. Well, there wasn't much of a match for Joleigh. He swallowed up a career-high 19 grown man rebounds in addition to 23 points to lift Auburn to an 85-72 victory. Auburn never trailed the Heels, and the supporting pieces were the reason why. 6 Auburn players finished in double figures. Miles Kelly with 15, Chad Baker-Mazara with 14, just behind Broome, who led the way. Second round, Tigers advance. Penny Hardaway and Memphis, after 2 wins over UConn and Michigan State, found themselves in the title game. This game was ruled by Joleigh Broome and Dylan Cardwell. The Jumbotron game was made with a career-high 18 points for big number 44, Dylan Cardwell, to go along with 6 assists, 8 for 8 shooting, and 1 big 3 from downtown. Joleigh Broome named the MVP of the tournament, 21 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists. He was just a man amongst boys in this championship game. They dished out 23 assists, only committed 9 turnovers for the Tigers, and they never trailed. Auburn basketball, the 2024 Maui Invitational champions by a final score of 90-76 over Memphis. Auburn is now the 3rd SEC team to win the Maui Invitational in the tournament's 40-year history, joining Vanderbilt and Kentucky, who won the tournament before the year 2000. Head coach Bruce Pearl talked about what the winning recipe was for his team to walk away with the win in Maui, specifically with big men Dylan Cardwell and Joleigh Broome.
Well, sitting beside me is 39 points, 19 rebounds, 12 assists, and only 2 turnovers. I'd say we got pretty dominant play from our bigs. And, it's kind of an interesting story. Dylan has had the challenge of playing behind the last couple of years Walker Kessler and Joleigh Broome. And you just wouldn't believe how eloquently he did that. And when Joleigh decided to come back, we knew we could have a chance to have a really good team. And one of the things that Dylan and I talked about his coming back was not playing behind Joleigh, but playing with him. And we worked on it all summer, all fall, and it wasn't great this summer or fall, right? No. And they wanted to play together so badly. And so I kept on, in practice going, look, this is fine, we got time, but here's the plus minus. We have to play faster, we have to play quicker. Anyways, I'm just happy for these guys because these guys are loving playing together. And they always were, they were never on the floor together very much in the last couple of years. So it's just incredible. They got great chemistry, they trust each other, they listen to each other. And as a result, I believe we've got the best front line in college basketball.
BP with high praise for his star player, Joleigh Broome, who, like I said, he walked away with the MVP of the 2024 Maui Invitational in flying colors. There was no one quite close to how as well as he played in this tournament. I mean, take a look at these stats right here, Maui Invitational. He averaged 21 points per game, around 14 rebounds, but on the year he's actually first in the entire country in rebounds with 12.5. And he took the podium to talk about his performance in Maui. Let's take a listen.
First off, all glory to God. Thank my teammates, thank for my coaches. Without them, I wouldn't have this trophy. The Auburn family traveling. I don't think we would have won the tournament without them. It felt like home. and I'm proud of my teammates and my Auburn family. You know, I care about winning. As long as we keep winning, that's how the eyes are on you. So I just look forward to keep winning and help my team win in any way I can.
Joleigh Broome, the SEC Player of the Week, helped Auburn enter Maui as the nation's 4th best team, and by the time they got to playing again on the mainland, they were ranked number 2 in the country behind Bill Self and Kansas. Now, it's been a while since Auburn has been atop the AP Top 25 like this. Kansas number 1, Auburn number 2, 2 SEC teams coming in behind Auburn at 3 and 4 with Tennessee and Kentucky. Marquette and Iowa State. Iowa State played Auburn so tight. They deserve to be in that top 10. And we take a look as we keep going. We see matchups for Auburn in the future. Purdue and number 9. Let's take a look at number 9 because Auburn made a trip to Durham, South Carolina to take on the Duke Blue Devils last night. They went to Cameron Indoor Stadium, one of, if not the toughest place to play in college basketball. And they looked great in the first half. Got off to a very quick start, brought to you by Miles Kelly Incorporated. 3 big threes to start the game. And you could see the star power from Joleigh Broome to Hod Pettiford and Chad Baker-Mazzara early was a big, big factor. They got up big in the first half, but by the end, that lead had been erased, and Duke was in control. Honestly, majority of the second half, Duke led the game. Auburn fighting to get back in it, to Hod Pettiford leading the charge there. But it was the last 4.5 minutes where Auburn really struggled. They did not make a field goal. 7 missed shots in a row in the last 4.5 minutes. Too much to overcome, especially with Duke. Cooper Flagg, arguably one of the best players in college basketball. 22 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and 0 turnovers. One of the best stat lines in college basketball over the last 25 years. Final from Cameron Indoor Stadium, Duke 84, Auburn 78. A tough one for the number 2 Tigers going down against the Devils. So, we'll leave you with that, but before we do so, we're going to go with some basketball trivia here. Which Auburn head coach recently had a documentary made about them? A, Hugh Freeze, B, Bruce Pearl, C, Butch Thompson, or D, Karen Hoppe? We'll have the answer when we return. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I want you to have your listening ears on because I might have actually already given you the answer to this trivia question. Which Auburn head coach recently had a documentary made about them? A, Hugh Freeze, B, Bruce Pearl, C, Butch Thompson, or D, Karen Hoppe? You're not going to believe it. I said it. Basketball trivia. That was the key here. We got letter B, Bruce Pearl. War Eagle Plus released the documentary Make History, the revival of Bruce Pearl and Auburn basketball on Tuesday, December 3rd. The documentary details the arrival of Bruce Pearl on the Plains and how he completely transformed Auburn basketball and created one of the best student sections in the country, the Jungle. Myself and other members of student media, including our sports producer, Cavanagh, had the opportunity to attend the premiere of the documentary on Monday night, and it was a great event, a great night. Bruce Pearl even got up at the end afterwards and talked about this documentary and what Auburn means to him. Now, we have the best in the business here at Eagle Eye TV. My 2 friends, Cohen and Val, in the studio with me now. And Val, you've got all things. I've been talking men's basketball. You're going to talk some women's hoops. Let's hear it.
Thanks, Vince. It is now time for all things women's basketball. Vince did a great job covering men, so let's dive right into women's. It was a busy few weeks for the Lady Tigers, so let's head out west and start there. It was a heck of a battle between Auburn and Oregon, but the Tigers ultimately fell short with a final score of 68-70. The Tigers then took on Cal, and it was unfortunately another heartbreaker with a close score of 59-63. The Tigers then took a trip over to the U.S. Virgin Islands to play in the Paradise Jam. Not a bad way to spend Thanksgiving break, if you ask me. The Tigers just barely clinched a win in their first round of play against Northern Iowa with a final score of 65-64, with a game winner from Diana Gaston. The Tigers then dominated in their next round of play against Pitt, where they secured an 82-50 win over the Panthers. This advanced the Tigers to the finals round of the tournament. It was a close back-and-forth game as Auburn took on Kansas in the finals, and sadly, the Tigers lost by 1 point, making the final score 60-61. A close end to the tournament, but 2 Tigers were named to the all-tournament team. Graduate student Dayana Gaston and senior Celia Sumbane were both named to the Paradise Jam All-Tournament team. Congrats to them. Looking ahead for our women's team, the Tigers are currently in Charlottesville, Virginia right now taking on the Cavaliers. Tip-off was scheduled for 5 o'clock, so tune into that after this. On December 8th, the Tigers will return home to take on UAB in Neville Arena. That's all we have for women's basketball. Now to Cohen for some soccer stats and scores.
Auburn soccer ended their season on November 22nd in the second round of the NCAA soccer tournament, as the 6-seed Tigers lost to the 3-seeded Ohio State Buckeyes 2-1 in a rematch, getting back at Auburn for their loss at the Auburn Soccer Complex earlier this season. Olivia Woodson scored the Tigers' lone goal with 5 minutes 30 left in the game, as the Auburn comeback effort fell just short. They finished the season at 13-4-4 in what was a pretty historic season on the pitch. After the season, Auburn soccer coach Karen Hoppe decided to hang up her coaching boots after 26 seasons coaching the Tigers. Under her leadership, Auburn won 2 SEC titles in 2002 and 2011, 7 SEC West titles, and also brought Auburn to 23 SEC tournaments and 18 NCAA tournaments, including an Elite 8 appearance in 2016. For all your hard work and dedication over your 26 seasons on the Plains, we're at Auburn. Thank you. Replacing Coach Hoppe as women's head soccer coach is former Mississippi State head coach James Armstrong. Armstrong was an assistant for the Tigers for 6 years prior to becoming the coach at Mississippi State. Armstrong led the Bulldogs to an outstanding 19-3 record last season, finishing an undefeated 10-0 in conference play and winning the SEC. Mississippi State finished top 5 nationally and lost to Notre Dame in the Sweet 16. He begins a new era of soccer at Auburn in his return to the Plains next season. Now I'm going to spike it on over to Val for some volleyball.
Thanks, Cohen. It is time to serve up some volleyball news. The Tigers took on number 20, Florida, at home on November 20th. Eagle Eye's very own Maddie Baughn was there. Let's take a look.
Nearing the end of their regular season, the Auburn Tigers hosted number 20, the Florida Gators. In hopes to serve up another win tonight in Neville Arena for senior night and their last home match of the season, the Tigers instead extend their losing streak to 9 games.
A toe-to-toe battle at the net featured some pretty big numbers from the Tigers, beginning with senior Madison Shear, ending the night with a total of 18 kills. And the front row, led by senior Chelsea McCurdy, tying up the Gators with over 7 blocks, but the Gators still had the edge. Able to find the pockets, Florida's Kennedy Martin with an unbelievable performance of 31 kills, putting the Tigers down for the first 2 sets. A sub for Slaughter was a smart move for the Tigers in the second set. An aggressive offensive playmaker, Slaughter with a total of 7 digs to put the Tigers on top in the third. Needing to win the fourth, the Tigers started off with a strong rhythm and a 2-point lead. Struggling to score at the end, the Gators closed the match with one last kill from Martin, making the final 3-1. Following with a senior night ceremony, head coach Brent Crouch stated that these athletes have raised the bar here to a place that people never thought was possible, ending this bittersweet night in Neville Arena.
I'm Maddie with Eagle Eye TV.
Thanks, Maddie. The Tigers then traveled to Norman, Oklahoma on November 24th to take on the Sooners. It was a tough match and the Tigers ultimately fell 3-1. Another road match for the Tigers as they traveled to Columbia, Missouri to face the other Tigers. This was a hard-fought match, but the Auburn Tigers ultimately lost 3-0. Despite starting the season with a 6-0 record, achieving 2 top 15 wins, and being ranked in the top 25 for the second consecutive year, the team failed to make the NCAA tournament after 2 straight years of qualifying. Now back to Cohen for some end-of-season updates on men and women's tennis.
Women's tennis did their thing at the NCAA Singles and Doubles Championships in Waco, Texas from November 19th to 24th. Waco is not exactly the place I'd want to spend my Thanksgiving, but DJ Bennett was on fire. She was the Woman of the Week with a historic trip to Waco after winning her first and second round matchups and becoming an ITA Singles All-American. Bennett became the first Auburn woman to reach the round of 8 since 2008. She continued her historic run by making it all the way to the national championship match, the first in Auburn history to make the finals, where she fell to Georgia's Dasha Vidmanova. Angela Okotoye and Myrna Rafat also played in singles play. Okotoye fell in the opening round while Rafat became an ITA singles All-American as well, winning her way to the round of 16. Finally, Ava Hrossar and DJ Bennett competed in the doubles tournament, where they made the semifinals, becoming ITA doubles All-Americans before falling in the semis 2-1. Now, men's tennis didn't have any record breakers, but they did have one doubles pair in Waco for the NCAA Doubles Championship as well. Billy Blades and Will Nolan were the pair that got the invite to the championships and did good work in dispatching their opening round matchup from Stanford before falling in the second round. Blades and Nolan represented Auburn's 8th consecutive doubles championship with a pair of Tigers competing. Now I'm going to run it on over to Val for some track and field.
It was a big week in the track and field world as the NCAA championships took place in Madison, Wisconsin on Saturday, November 23rd. 3 of our very own Tigers were there. Brenda Jepchicher finished 21st in the women's 6K out of 234 competitors. She also earned the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association All-American honors in her first season as freshman. Huge honor and huge congrats to her. 2 more of our Tigers competed in the championship, including Nixon Chabai, who finished 66th in the men's 10K, and Ryan Canan, who finished 88th in the men's 10K. Congrats to all the track and field Tigers for a great season. Back to you, Cohen, for some equestrian updates.
Just a small bit of equestrian news for you tonight. Number 1, Auburn Equestrian lost their first match of the season against 6th-ranked Georgia on November 22nd. The Tigers fell behind after horsemanship and fences 4-6 and could not pull back ahead, losing 11-9 to the Bulldogs. Auburn Equestrian is off until February, when equestrian will start to pick back up for the spring season. Now swinging it over to Val for swim and dive.
The Tigers had a top 3 weekend as they traveled to Atlanta, Georgia for the Georgia Tech Invite from Friday, November 22nd to Sunday, the 24th. The men finished in 3rd place with 1245 points. 2nd place was Florida State coming in with 1252, and Michigan coming out on top with 1418. The women's team finished 2nd with 1374.5 behind the Michigan women's teams, who secured the win with 1475. Coming up for the Tigers, they will travel to Bloomington, Indiana for the USA Diving Winter Nationals from December 7th through the 15th. That's all the swim and dive updates I have for you. Back to you, Vince.
Thank you, Cohen and Val. You guys crushed as always. Looking forward to that swimming and dive in Bloomington. That'll be pretty good stuff. All right, we're going to NFL after this break, but before we leave you, we've got some NFL trivia for you. Which former Auburn Tiger was nominated for this year's Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award? A, Jamel Dean, B, Braden Smith, C, Darius Slayton, or D, Roger McCreary? We'll have all the answers when we return. We've got the answer to our NFL trivia we left you with before the break. Here's the question. Which former Auburn Tiger was nominated for this year's Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award? Now, New York Giants fans, here we go. The answer, letter C, Darius Slayton. Slayton is the New York Giants nominee for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award. This award recognizes an NFL player for his excellence on and off the field. There are 32 nominees, as each team nominates one player who has made an impact on their community. This year, Slayton has hosted a variety of events through his relationship with the NYPD-led Fair Rockaway, Harlem, and Bronx Giants. His programs work to improve police-community relations while providing youth with resources to graduate high school and college. Slayton is nominated alongside NFL stars like Travis Kelce, Max Crosby, and Mike Evans. The winner will be announced at the NFL Honors on February 8th and will receive $250,000 in donation money to a charity of their choosing. Now, we're going to take it straight to the pros. We've got Auburn in the pros. Micah's going to join me on this one, where we're going to take a look at the former Auburn Tigers who are making a name for themselves in the league. Let's check it out. Starting in Denver. Shout out Paige Hunter. We got a Broncos to start this one. 29-19 win, and Bo Nix was a big part of it against the Raiders on Sunday.
Bo Nix again, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3rd consecutive Pepsi Rookie of the Week award, and then the crazy game versus Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston threw 6 touchdowns, 2 were to Bo Nix's team, but Bo Nix had a much better performance. Did have 1 pick, but a ton of yards, multiple touchdowns, including what I thought was his best throw of the season for the long touchdown to Marvin Mims.
Plus, they get added points for how cool their white helmets were.
Exactly.
I was a big fan.
Those are amazing.
Broncos were winners all throughout last week. Going to the next team here, we're going to take it from Denver to Dallas. A big win against the division rival, the New York Giants. And for Carl Lawson, he had a solid day.
Yeah, he's been playing really well. One of the better players on this Cowboys defense right now, obviously filling in for the injured Micah Parsons for a lot of the season. And he had a tackle, a sack, and a tackle for loss. Sacked Drew Lock, some SEC on SEC, Tiger on Tiger crime there versus the former Missouri product. But how about Lawson doing it on Thanksgiving versus the Giants?
And a big win. He was going in to eat against the Giants. Now, it's getting cold in Auburn, but if we said cold up here, we'd get laughed at. We're going to go to Green Bay for this one. Colby Wooten, big win for Green Bay, 38-10 over the Christian McCaffrey-less 49ers, and he had a good day as well.
Yeah, got the start at defensive end for one of the first times this season, had 2 solo tackles and a tackle for loss. I feel like this is another guy who's been on this graphic every week, playing pretty good football this season.
Lots of good names making big plays in the NFL. We've seen the guys on the field, on the green grass that are making an impact, but there's also a lot of guys on the move and a lot of guys trying to get back to playing on that green grass. Micah, you've got roster moves and injury updates for us.
Yeah, let's start with the roster moves, and it is tight end C.J. Uzomah up to the Eagles' active roster because of the Dallas Goedert injury, and then Shedrick Jackson has been signed to the Raiders practice squad. Now, normally you go into players that are injured, but fortunately we have some guys back healthy this weekend. So let's start with those guys. Tank Bigsby has healed up from his ankle injury for the Jaguars. Corner Jamel Dean for the Buccaneers is back after a hamstring injury. Lions corner Carlton Davis is back after a knee injury. And then the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee Darius Slayton that we talked about earlier is back after a concussion. Then the guys that are still out and or questionable, Colts tackle Braden Smith missed this past game for personal reasons, still marked as questionable. And then Roger McCreary, corner for the Tennessee Titans, is out questionable with a shoulder injury for this week. But now back to the desk. It's Val, it's Vince, it's Fitz. Here's Trending Tigers.
2 great things when they're put together are great games and great fits. And there's nobody better to bring in than my twin, Val Heffernan. Come on, see?
We are here at the desk. It feels good to be up here with you, Vince.
We're doing it. Trending Tigers. We're going to look at some NFL fits from, or NFL and college players. Guys that are going to the NFL. How about
exactly.
that?
You want to rank them 5 to 1?
Let's do it.
Alrighty.
5 to 1. We're going to start with number 5, Austin Keys, the linebacker who was, Austin Keys or Mr. Put It On, depending on what you want to call it.
You know, I'm a fan. He looks comfy. The green tracksuit, the matching, I like it. The red kind of adds some Christmas feel to it.
Yeah, I like it. It's got a little festive. It's cozy. There's no bit of uncomfortable there. He's chilling. I like it.
But you know, one thing about Austin Keys, he always has the shades on. He is locked in, headphones on, ready to go. So
he does.
I'm a fan.
Can't see the haters through those shades. And he probably will hate us for being number 5. But we're going to move on to number 4 so he doesn't hate us as much. Keldrick Falk coming in at number 4. And whew, hide your eyes, ladies and gentlemen.
That
Those
chain is
chains
bright.
Are they are blinging. The bubble coat, it's a classic, but the chains and the jewelry just make it, don't you think?
I agree. It really makes the outfit. You could see him coming from a mile away.
They said, come out swagging if your brother just committed to Auburn. And he said, hello. Come on. There we go. Number 3, we're going to take a look at the
Phillip is stepping up here.
Stepping.
Look at him. He's got this tweed outfit on. Y'all can't see the pants, but he's got matching tweed pants on. Vince, you know, I think you'd rock that outfit just the same, if not a little better. No hate to Phillip over there.
I don't think I'm ever going to wear a suit on a broadcast again. I think I'm just going to go black turtleneck, gray jacket, and a big chain. How about that?
I'm a fan of that.
All right. Sounds good. Love it. Phillip coming in at number 3. Number 2, Eugene Asante. This is a staple fit for Eugene, I think.
I agree. You know, anytime I see him in a suit, it's some pattern, some color that you're not expecting from him. And this one is one of my top favorites. Last time we saw him in a suit, it was the pink and the yellow. So now we got more on-brand Auburn theme with the blue and the navy.
I'm surprised he didn't come with his lunch pail and a hard hat, because usually he's ready for work. But this time he looked like he was ready for business. How about that?
And you know, he just was.
Number 2 to number 1. Who else? Jarquez
Hunter. Look at him.
With the Walter Payton vintage Bears hoodie, he had it going on against Texas A&M, a fire fit from the senior. How about that? That's Trending Tigers, Vince, Val, signing off for Trending Tigers this time. And since it's the last show of the semester, we want to highlight one of our own that's been here at Sports Night in Auburn for a minute now. Valerie Heffernan has been in Eagle Eye for the last 3 years and has been in 4 semesters worth of Sports Night in Auburn. She's covered all things sports here at Eagle Eye and even done a bit of work with our news team as well. Val, thank you for all the time you spent making this show is what it is today, and we wish you luck in all of your future plans. We can't wait to see you on the big screen one day, and we know it's going to be sooner rather than later.
Guys, that was so sweet. They did not tell me they were doing this, so this was a surprise to me. Seriously, the most rewarding 4 years of my college experience has been spent here at Eagle Eye with all my favorite people. So
Awesome.
that rounds out our show for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. War Eagle.
Yes, War Eagle. I threw the oop and she just dunked it. I mean, that's a way to go out right there.
Alrighty, well that concludes our final sports night in Auburn for this semester. Thank y'all, good night, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.